Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Maverick podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the Week 9 matchups, as well as starts and sits with my good friend Swami Rob from the 94 Rock Morning Show. Here we go.
Listen up. It's time for the Fantasy Maverick podcast, starring the guy who's going to help you win that fantasy championship, Jimmy Maverick.
All right. Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Maverick podcast. And with me, as always, on the Thursday show is my good friend Swami Rob of the 94 Rock Morning Show in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Rob, how was your Week 9 or Week 8? Excuse me. How was Week 8?
Why? Which league are we talking about? Are we talking about the Morning Show League or are we talking about the others?
We can talk about the Morning Show League.
Well, the Morning Show League has gone horribly wrong for me all of a sudden. Horribly wrong. I'm 3-5 at the moment and really in a conundrum because it's pretty obvious Zeke Elliott is no longer a prolific producer and is not likely to be the rest of the year. And Ben DiNucci didn't even look Amari Cooper's way, but maybe once. So two of my best scorers are now scoring nothing.
Right.
And as I reach for the bench to try to find some help in the waiver wire, I'm not getting a whole hell of a lot. It's just and on top of the injuries to CNC and Raheem Mostert already, and then they have Lamb and Cooper and Elliott all going the crapper at the same time. I'm done in that league. It's over.
I cannot catch a break for anything in this league. I lost by 2 points this past week. Almost pulled a huge upset. But it did not happen. And now I'm at 2-6. What horrible. Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do about
3 and
this
5
year,
for
man.
me.
I don't even know what to do about this year. I just can't cut a break anywhere.
I'm doing a couple other of my leagues, including a big money one. That's going pretty well. But I'm actually in another league, 0-8 at the moment, or 0-7, 0-8, I think. And at this point, it's a point of honor for me to finish the season without a win. I'm going to do my best to try to not win.
Well,
I actually have never
just
finished.
move everybody to your bench and you don't play anybody. Then you guarantee.
I don't even have to do that. I can put my starters in and still suck. That team is horribly bad, man.
Yeah.
Horribly bad.
Well,
I got Russell Wilson
league,
and everybody else blows.
In our league, again, hats off to Zeke and Destroy at 7-1, a game ahead of everyone, huge advantage in points, won again this past week. Number 2 is the Lamarville Universe. Number 3 is Open DDs. Number 4 is Terminal Hockey. All those guys are in playoff position right now, so they're all doing great. They all have at least 5 wins, though. So, the third and fourth guy are both at 5-3. So you're not that far out of getting into contention there. Whereas for me, it's
but the problem is, I got you. But the problem is, I'm not likely to replace anybody with the scoring potential of Amari Cooper or an Ezekiel Elliott or even a CeeDee Lamb at this point. And the guys that I am subbing on the bench, Perrine from the Jets and stuff, they're just not good. They're not going to amount to a hill of dry crap.
Right.
So it's pretty well over, I think. So I'm just kind of licking my wounds. Thank God I'm not in any money, but somebody's going to win a TV, and it's a cool deal. So, cool. All right, good for them. Yeah.
So let's talk the Week 9 matchups. Now, I want to just remind all the listeners out there that this week the bye teams are Cincinnati, Cleveland, Philadelphia, and the Rams. And holy cow, in one of my leagues, my entire bench is filled up with bye week players right now. That's how heavily invested I am in those 4 teams. So we'll see how I do. I've got a number of key players on bye. That's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough week for me. I can tell you that already.
I think I'm over the bye hump with most of my really key players, but I did run up against a snag with the Rams defense, which has been decent for me all year. And I had to go get defense off waivers. And oh God, every defense on that list sucks. I mean, seriously, there's not a good choice in there. I ended up going with Tennessee's, but seriously, my picks were like the Cowboys and the Seahawks and just awful defenses, man. Right. So there's really no win scenario,
Yeah, it's tough. Although I did talk about in my waiver wire episode, you might want to check to see if Houston's available because Houston's playing Jacksonville and Gardner Minshew is injured right now. So they got a guy starting his very first NFL game as a rookie. So that seems to be good potential for turnovers and interceptions. So
who is
even though the Houston
Tennessee
defense
playing
isn't that
this
good.
week?
What's that?
Who's Tennessee playing this week?
Tennessee is playing the Bears. Ouch.
The Bears offense doesn't really do much, so
That's
I feel
true.
all right with
That's
that
true.
pick too. So all right.
Yeah. So let's just start right out, man. Let's go with the Thursday night game. We got the Packers at the Niners. And my big question is that will the Packers finally respond to that pair of butt whoopings that the Niners laid on them last season? Certainly seems like they could take this one, looking at all the injuries on the Niners right now.
I imagine they will. The big interesting news item there is that with A.J. Dillon positive for COVID, the people that were in immediate proximity with him have also been quarantined. So Jamal Adams is a no-go, and they've also got one of their linebackers. That might level the playing field with the banged-up 49ers a little bit. I still think Packers going to win that game. But not having Kittle and Garoppolo and all that stuff, man, San Francisco – they're one of the teams this year that I think has been hit by injuries the hardest. So there's a lot, but San Francisco is definitely up there.
It's that Super Bowl letdown, man, that post-Super Bowl letdown. So hard for teams to repeat. As far as players, I want to tell everyone to use caution with Aaron Jones. Niners are top 2 against the run. There's not going to be a lot of room for him. And if you say that Jamal Williams and AJ – did you say Jamal Williams is out or –
Yeah, Jamal Williams is out, A.J. Dillon is out, and one of their linebackers is out. And keep in mind, the Niners just traded Quan Alexander, too, which could mess with the chemistry of the defense a little bit, you know? So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So, and the Niners D is still really good, but they are they're very tough against quarterbacks and wide receivers. So Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, I'm not going to sit them, but I'm just going to let you know that it's a tough matchup for them. I don't think they're going to do what they did last week. On the flip side, I do like JaMychal Hasty this week, and I don't trust Jarrett McKinnon. You got to move him onto your bench or even just drop him at this point with his
I got to
nearly non-existent usage.
I know. I've noticed that. I wondered how on one of my apps, ESPN has it projected to score 18 points. I said, somebody's smoking pot because I don't see that happening.
Somebody hasn't updated that number yet.
Right.
Yeah, his usage has been just non-existent. And,
I know.
The Niners receivers, man, you got to sit it against the Packers. They got a top 10 pass D. So I wouldn't start them. But moving on to the Sunday early games, we got the NFC least. We got the Giants at Washington. Washington has given up the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. So I got to say, man, it's a risky week. I would sit Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard this week if you can against this Washington defense.
Although if you own stock in any of those or even Golden Tate on Monday night, you actually got some points out of them. I thought the Giants showed me a little bit of nut. And granted, Tampa Bay probably was not having their most on night in the world. And Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones. But, I saw 3 of those guys make some pretty spectacular catches Monday night. Yeah.
And I'm in a situation where I actually have to start Daniel Jones this week. So hopefully he won't turn the ball over. And can get a decent game going. We'll see. It doesn't look very likely, but it was like so picked over on the quarterbacks in this one league. I'm like, who's rostering all these quarterbacks? We only have 6 bench slots. I mean, there's so many quarterbacks that are gone. But Carson Wentz is on my bench this week because he's on bye. So.
Shout out to Evan Ingram, too, for the catch he got from Daniel Jones in the first quarter of the game on Monday night. For a tight end to make a catch like that, that was really something.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, he's a start again this week as well. Washington football team has given up the ninth most fantasy points to tight ends. So I think he's a great matchup and should do very well. I also like Terry McLaurin on Washington's side. I think, the Giants D is top 10 for opposing receivers. But I do think you should sit Logan Thomas. Logan has been playing really well since Josh Allen took over, but his volume is extremely low. Like he's only gotten 4 targets in each of the past 2 weeks. He's done a lot with those 4 targets, but given it as a bad matchup and such low volume, I would not start him this week. So let's move on. Let's look at next up, Bears at the Titans. So Titans, man, slumping hard right now. They were looking so good a couple weeks ago, but the past 2 weeks, super disappointing. Do you think they're going to be able to right that ship against that tough Bears defense?
I can't tell at this point. Jonnu Smith, you're killing me, man. What happened to you? Where the hell did you go? Seriously, man.
Yeah. That why is the tight end position so frustrating every year? It's like always.
Wish I knew. Wish I knew.
Such a mess. I got to say though, if you're looking for a stream, the Titans defense is pretty bad. And Nick Foles, I think, is a start as they are top 10 for opposing quarterbacks. So Nick Foles could have a productive day. Obviously, the receivers too. Allen Robinson's going to have a good day too, I'm pretty sure. But the Chicago D, man, is rock solid against quarterbacks and wide receivers. So Ryan Tannehill is a sit, and I think his receivers are a sit this week too. I have not seen anybody be able to do much against that Chicago pass defense this year. So
yeah, but when you say guys like Allen Robinson are going to do good and stuff like that, that doesn't scare me at all. Good for them, 7 points, you know. So
right. All right, so let's move on. Lions at the Vikings. Vikings coming off that huge win against Green Bay, totally unexpected. And of course that monster performance by Dalvin Cook with 4 touchdowns.
I own some stock in Dalvin Cook, by the way. Boy, he single-handedly won me a game. Yeah,
nice.
I looked.
Nice.
You know, I wasn't able to watch the morning games because I had some things going on, but I was checking my fantasy scores, and when I saw what Cook put up, I was like, dude, that a boy.
That's always a nice surprise, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, when you go back and look at the draft, the first round of the draft was a disaster for the most part. I mean, you think about, it was Saquon, it was CMC, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, and then Alvin Kamara was 4th. He did good. Derrick Henry's 5th. He was good. Dalvin Cook is 6th, has been pretty good. But then everyone after that has been terrible. You know, you've got Kenyon Drake. You have Michael Thomas. I mean, it's just like so many busts from the first round of the draft this year. Just really tough on a lot of teams.
Well, yeah, a lot of that has to do with injury because I really thought Raheem Mostert was going to be my sneaky pick of the year. And boy, the first 2 weeks I was proven right. But yeah, these guys are just going down way too fast. So
it is. Yeah, I mean, Kittle's out for the rest of the fantasy season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's just it's been a brutal fantasy year. Now, as far as the Lions and the Vikings go, the Minnesota defense is very generous to quarterbacks and their receivers. So I love Matthew Stafford, and I like Marvin Jones, obviously Kenny Golladay, all good for this week. But I do think that Kirk Cousins.
Kenny Golladay is officially out, Jim.
Oh, is he out?
Yes, he is. And so with that in mind, yeah, he's going to be out like 3 to 4 weeks. And so I thought, I got a hold of Phil. Galladay's out again. And I just said, well, I need to pick up a receiver. And Marvin Jones was sitting right there, and I grabbed him like that. Yeah. And so, okay, maybe I'll make up some ground there.
Yeah. Oh, geez, man. Another player that was gone in the second round of most leagues, and he has been a disaster this year. Very disappointing. It's a contract year for him too. So I'm really disappointed at how
well when he's been out there, he's done okay. He just hasn't been on the field that much. But
the problem is he hasn't been healthy that much.
Right.
So let's see here. Next game. What do we got? We got Panthers at the Chiefs. This looks like an interesting game, but I don't think the Panthers are going to be able to keep up with the Chiefs this year.
Oh no, hell no.
I do have to say that the Carolina defense is pretty good. Top 10 against quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends. Obviously, I'm not sitting Mahomes, Kelsey, or Hill, but just something to consider. I do think that this is going to be a Clyde Edwards-Helaire game because the Carolina rush defense is 4th best for opposing running backs. So I love Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And then on the flip side, Kansas City defense is top 4 against receivers. So Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, very risky this week. And
they would have been anyway. Either. Yeah, right. Teddy Bridgewater's not even playing. And you know what? I don't have any like or dislike for the Carolina Panthers. I'm indifferent about that team. But that shot on Teddy Bridgewater was bullshit. Especially after happening right after the one with Andy Dalton. They had a just mandatory 2-game suspension, no questions asked.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's you hate to see that, especially with someone like the quarterback Bridgewater with what he's had to go through to get back.
Exactly.
On the field,
Exactly.
So the next game should be full of fantasy goodness. The Texans at the Jaguars. Again, both are very disappointing units this year, but I got to say the defenses are not that good. So I like all the Texans to start. And I do like the Texans defense just because it's Jake Luton is going to be the quarterback making his first start as a rookie. So there should be some fantasy points to be had there for the Texans defense. But as far as the rest of the Jaguars offense, again, all starts, good options all around. So I like everybody in this game. Should be a good fantasy
Fuller,
game.
Shout out to Will Fuller. I need you this week. I expect you'll come up big. I need you to come up bigger. I need you to have like a Devontae Adams game this week. Feel free. Go nuts,
Yeah, I've heard he's a rumor that he's going to get traded before the trade deadline. I don't even know when the trade.
Well, the trade deadline was yesterday.
Oh, it was.
Trade deadline was yesterday, so it's done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see here. Next up. Okay. Now this one looks like a defensive blockbuster game. The Ravens at the Colts, two outstanding defenses going up against each other. And I got to say, man, I do not like the Ravens this week. I think Lamar Jackson is a sit. I think really any of the skill positions is a sit. It's let's see here. Indy defense is number 1 against the quarterback and the tight end, top 3 against running backs. So, and then, Baltimore does not have a very good pass offense right now. Very disappointing this year and what's been going on there. So again, Baltimore is kind of a sit across the board, except for the defense. I like the defense.
This could be a real sneaky week for Phillip Rivers. I had Naheem Hines last week, and he just blew up. It was great. Right. I'm going to have to start him again this week. But keep in mind, if you're looking at a Hilton or some of those guys who really haven't done squat this year, there's a COVID outbreak with the Ravens, and one of them was a defensive back. And based on contact tracing, 6 other players have been sat for this week's game. They have not been named yet. But if he's practicing with the secondary, they're the contact tracing guys. They might be starting an entire second team secondary. It might be a time to take a look at one of those guys.
Wow, that is interesting to know.
Yeah.
And that all of a sudden makes the Indy offense a little bit more attractive if that many players are going to be out. Jeez, that's because I was going to say that Baltimore is top 4 against the running back. So, but that's not going to be the case if they're missing half their defense.
They haven't named the players yet, so I still don't know who they are. But
right.
But if you base it on what groups they're practicing with, this was a starting safety for the Ravens that went out. And so if he's been practicing with the rest of the first team, I can assume there's going to be more guys in the starting lineup that aren't going to be able to play.
Right. Jeez. Yep. Man, it's just so rough this year.
Well, we knew it was. Did we not know when we started this whole thing at the starting of the year that between COVID and injuries and everything, this year was going to be a cluster, and it's proven to be true. Yeah. So
that's. I mean, you're right there. So next up, this next game looks like another great fantasy game, man. Seahawks at the Bills. Even though the Bills are tough against the receivers, there's no way I'm sitting Metcalf or Lockett. No way at all. But a sneaky start, if you're looking for a tight end, man, Greg Olsen has a great matchup. Now, he is a low volume receiver, but if you're desperate for a tight end, I think he's worth rostering this week for this matchup. So I think
I've watched the Seahawks play for some reason for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and the one thing I've noticed is they'll throw to Olsen now and then. Yeah. But who they really like to throw to, what they feel like throwing to a tight end is Disley. I've seen him make some catches. It seems like he's Russell Wilson's go-to guy if they're throwing to the tight end.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look and see what kind of volume he's gotten. Yeah, we can definitely check that out. Mm-hmm. And as far as on the other side of the ball, Seahawks defense can't stop anyone. So all the Bills are good to go this week. Start them all.
No.
Next up, we got the Broncos at the Falcons. Believe it or not, Falcons is a top 10 defense against the run. So Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay, very suspect this week. Not real thrilled with starting them, although I do have to start Lindsay in one of my leagues because I have so many players on bye. But Drew Lock looks like a great streaming option this week if you need a quarterback. So that's one that you should consider. And the Denver defense is also top 10 against the run. So I think Todd Gurley is a sit as well. It looks like it's going to be more of an air game.
For some reason, how if you play fantasy for enough years, there's always one guy that you end up having for several years in a row. Right. Maybe not necessarily a big name guy, but one guy that you just falls to you every time. And I've, for the last 3 years, have had stock in Phillip Lindsay. And I do like to, every once in a while, when I sneak him into my flex, he ends up surprising me. He had a really good week last week.
Right.
So I've learned to never count Philip Lindsay out, regardless of what you're seeing in the stats, man. The guy always surprises,
Yeah, and he's outperforming Gordon on the field. So although Gordon is catching more passes, but the more effective runner has definitely been Lindsay. So that's cool. But it's a tough matchup this week, so I would not expect much. Now moving on to the Sunday afternoon games, we got the Raiders at the Chargers. This looks like this could be a pretty good game. Neither defense is particularly good, so I think we're going to have lots of fantasy points. I love Derek Carr as a streaming quarterback this week. Great option. Chargers are the 6th most generous defense for quarterbacks, and all the Raiders' skill positions are a start. On the other side of the ball, go ahead.
Maybe the most frustrating team for the entire year, as far as fantasy goes for me, as far as inconsistency goes, is the freaking Raiders, because Darren Waller will crush it for me one week, disappear for 3. And same goes for Nelson Aguilar. I picked him up a couple of weeks ago. He blew up for me on a week when I really needed him, and then right back in the crapper. And it was against Cleveland, for God's sakes. They should have been able to do a little more than they did. They didn't do anything, you know?
Well, yeah, that game against Cleveland, I thought that was going to be a barnstormer game. But
me
then
too.
The weather was terrible.
Right,
I mean, it was like a downpour, gusting winds, and everything else. So I'm not surprised that it ended up being such a low-scoring affair. But, yeah, that definitely stinks. But this one is going to be in sunny Southern California, so I think they'll be fine. On the other side of the ball for the Chargers, I love Justin Jackson this week. Definitely start him, but I would sit Joshua Kelly. I don't trust his volume right now. Go with Justin Jackson, and hopefully Eckler will be back sometime. Jeez, man, he's been gone forever. Hurting my teams that I drafted. And that's another first-round guy or I guess he was an early second-round guy. Is very disappointing this year. Very much a bust. Youch.
Is Mike Williams finally starting to live up to his hype of the last couple of years? Because suddenly he's starting to make he's doing all right for me.
Yeah,
I've been forced to start him.
I don't trust his consistency, but
me neither.
Yeah, he's definitely outperformed what I thought he'd do this year. And based on where most people drafted him, he's given you a nice positive return because he was like a 10th or 11th round pick.
Oh, yeah, that's easily when I got him. He's another guy I've ended up with a couple of years in a row, and I think he's finally shown me a little something here and there,
Yeah. My steal as far as wide receivers was definitely getting Robbie Anderson in like the 13th or 14th round.
Yeah.
Absolutely worth the pick there. He's done great. So let's move on to, Steelers at the Cowboys. Man, how many points do you think the Cowboys are going to get beat by? It's just
they're going to get. I think this is only the second time in the last 30 years that, or the last 20 years. I can't remember what they.
Oh, you froze.
But no, the game. Sorry. I said the Cowboys are double-digit underdogs. Did you get that? Yeah. It's only like the second time in the last 25 years or so. But the thing is, yes, the game's going to be an ass whooping. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be terrible. They might not even start DiNucci this week and return to last year's third stringer Cooper Rush, or else get Garrett Gilbert from Cleveland to start at quarterback. Regardless of that fact, Gallup, Cooper, Lamb, and Schultz, I wouldn't get anywhere near those guys. And I'm forced to start Ezekiel Elliott, but he's not going to do a goddamn thing either. That it's done. I wouldn't start any of those guys.
It's just I mean, you can't start Zeke right now. Steelers are number 1 against the run. I do like Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. I think they'll do a little bit better this week. It's a good matchup. On the Steelers side, start everyone. It's a good game, so they're going to do. Yeah, they're going to do good. So
what's frustrating?
Much pain out there for Cowboys fans.
Well, the year's a wash. We knew that 4 weeks ago. But if I could at least get their players to score points for me, it's not a total loss. But now that's gone too. Thing is, I brought up last week on the podcast, is that this is your last chance to sell high on Zeke Elliott. Turns out I was exactly right. I pussed out and didn't try to trade him when I probably should have, and I'm not going to be able to unload him on anybody now. Right. So he's an albatross.
Oh man, yeah. Sorry. There's always next year, right? There's always next year. All right. So the next one, we got the Dolphins at the Cardinals. Man, I got to say the most surprising 4-3 team right now has got to be the Dolphins. And their defense has done really well. Their defense really stepped up last week, getting that upset victory. Although I would say if you're thinking of streaming the Miami defense, it's not a good idea this week. Arizona has given up the 6th fewest points to opposing defenses. So I would not start the Miami defense.
You want to hear something funny, Jim? Okay, so I've got there's always that player that we always get that has a high potential upside before the year, and you get him in later rounds, and you think, that guy will be sitting on my bench. That's going to come in handy sometime, and you leave him on the bench week after week after week. And then they finally bust out, and you're thinking, okay, it's finally time to activate these guys. Then maybe an injury happens. So my guy this year has been Devontae Parker, who I drafted probably 8th or 9th round, and I've been having him on the bench for several weeks. And then I think he had a really good week, and I said, it's time to put him in, and he went right back in the crapper again. And then I probably could have put him in last week and didn't. So I've yet to start that guy. Is it finally time?
I don't know if I would do it this week. I've been on the same boat with the other Miami receiver, Preston Williams, who I picked up in a ton of leagues, and I mostly dropped him at this point because the guy doesn't get more than 2 or 3 targets a game. Tua, his pass volume was super low last week. He only had like 125 yards passing. You can't start a receiver on a team where a quarterback's only throwing 125 yards passing. You'll get nothing. So I would keep him on the bench for now. If he blows up, I would try to move him. I would try to he'd be a trade bait candidate for me.
Yeah, maybe. And funny Preston Williams story, if I already told you this before, stop me. But I was in the middle of a draft, and it was my turn to pick. I was on the clock, and my daughter was playing around in my study with me, and I have a couple of really heavy coins that I collect, and she was playing with one, and she dropped it on the keyboard when it was my turn to pick, and it picked this guy, Preston Williams, and I couldn't undo it. I go, wait, who's this guy? And so my wife made me promise. Well, she was all excited, Rob, even though that was an accident. So you're not allowed to cut him or trade him. You have to keep him. So I've kept him out there just for the sake of, I'm hoping maybe he'll blow up some week and my kid will be excited,
I'm very disappointed in what Preston's done this year, but maybe it'll be better as Tua gets more acclimated. I don't know. But regardless, he's just not getting enough volume.
Nope.
Let's see here. We got the Saints at the Bucks. This is like a good game, man. I got to say, Bucks defense, though, top 5 against quarterbacks, top 10 against receivers. So I'm definitely sitting Drew Brees, but Michael Thomas, go ahead and start him. He's good. But the New Orleans defense, top 6 against the run. So I'm sitting Ronald Jones. And then on the main guy I say you should start, Rob Gronkowski, who looks like his old self now, getting great volume from Brady.
Yeah, he does.
Doing good stuff with it. So if you were lucky enough to get Tom Brady during his, slow start, man, lucky you. You're doing good.
Hey, man, I had Rob Gronkowski and Jonnu Smith on the same team, and I was benching Gronkowski and starting Jonnu Smith. Now, I just finally figured, because of low flex options, to go ahead and flex Gronkowski and leave Jonnu Smith starting at tight end. And Gronkowski has been great for me for the last couple of weeks. I'm loving it, man. Yeah.
So finally, we got the Monday Night Football game, and I got to tell you, man, this is like the crappiest Monday Night Football game. I can't believe they're putting this on, but it's the Patriots at the Jets, the winless Jets.
Yeah.
Just for a Monday night game, this is beyond pathetic. I mean, first of all, Patriots are definitely going to win. The only player I can say start on the Jets side is LaMichael Pirine. The New England defense is pretty good for running backs. Sit Jamison Crowder, though. He's coming back from an injury, and it's a really tough matchup. I think Cam Newton's a start this week. Should do great. And I also like the running backs, Damian Harris and James White. I think they're both good. They're both starts. So.
How awesome would it be for the Jets to just finally decide we've taken enough crap? We're the laughing stock of the football world. We're still grown men. We're still professional football players. And the Patriots come in on a 4-game slide, which you haven't heard about until 2002. And you figure, oh, well, that's a perfect way to stop the bleeding for Belichick. But how sweet would it be if the Jets mustered just enough to give the Patriots their 5th straight loss? I just think that'd be awesome. So it's a crappy game in every sense of the word, but I am going to watch at least for the first half, and I'm going to be a Jets fan for 2 quarters and see if it helps,
Well, there's a lot of Schadenfreude in relation to the Patriots struggling this year. But that defense is still good. So, and that defense against the Jets offense, really good. So I would definitely start the New England defense this week. So
yeah. Now keep in mind too, I did think that Tampa Bay Giants game on paper was looking like another steamy turd on a Monday night game. That ended up being a damned entertaining football game. Yeah. I doubt it, but maybe we'll end up with a good one this coming Monday too. You know, who knows?
We'll see. We'll see.
I doubt it, but yeah.
But that's it, man. That's it for week 9. So Swami, thanks for joining me today, and tell them about how the listeners can win a television.
Oh, yeah. BIOS, our electronics and mattress and furniture and appliance headquarters at Albuquerque Forever, is giving away a TV to the winner of our Fantasy Football League. This is a 60-inch Sony 4K TV. However, there's also an LG 60-inch 4K TV that's available to people who don't even play fantasy football or don't even know anything about it. So you can go daily to 94rock.com and register to win, and we'll be drawing a winner at random at the end of the football season. So without even knowing a damn thing about fantasy football, you can still score this thing. So give it a shot.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, man. 94rock.com.
So we're winding through the season. There's only 5 more weeks of the regular season to pull something out. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it in our 94 Rock League.
I mean,
things are going all right. So I'm happier there. But it's, like I said, it has been a really rough year, and I really blame the lack of a preseason from really hindering a lot of teams this year. So
I never thought I'd miss preseason ever, and I still don't, but I didn't think it would cause this big of a thing. Because I kind of agree with you. That has a lot to do with it. But at the same time, when you're looking at as far as the 5 weeks that are left, there's just really. You're just throwing darts when you're trying to pull some of these guys off the waiver wire, and without fail, 99.9% of them suck. So while I've got my morning show fantasy league team is in the permanent crapper, I don't think I'll come out of it. One of my leagues is the big money league. There's a nice cash prize there, and okay. I'm absolutely top 3 in the league and in the running, and all these guys have stayed healthy. I'm knocking on wood on that, but if I can score in that league out of the 4 I'm in, the whole year wasn't a wash. I'm good.
There you go. Yep. Perfect. So cool. Well, thank you, Swami, for joining me. Good luck, everyone out there with your games this weekend, and please like and subscribe the video. And if you have any comments, please leave it below. Talking about any of these players or any other players for this week. Be happy to hear from you. So thank you again, Swami. Have yourself a good fantasy week, and I'll talk to you next week, man.
Yeah, same to you.
Okay.